right, good peoples. Let's jump in here for Bitto and YBIT. Well, some good news, some so-so news. Um, we're getting close to being capped. Remember, we had written out a week. We rolled and we captured. No, we took that big hit. Yeah, that was the problem. I had to double check back on the 719s, right? So we took a big hit on that with Bitcoin moving up. And then we went ahead on 712 for the 719s. And then we bought those back for a big, big loss and decided to go out to 24.5. And at that time, we were around 22.85. But the FOMO around the political environment, there's a big Bitcoin conference on for next week. Donald Trump is scheduled to present toward the end of the week. I think that somewhere in that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but the conference, massive conference, the biggest Bitcoin conference of the year. So all the big name speakers, there's rumors afloat as you might expect. Some of the rumors, just to give you some ideas, that Jamie Dimon, who's retired from JP Morgan or retiring, is being talked about from Trump if he were to win the election, that he would likely make him the Treasury Secretary. And Jamie Dimon is rumored, who's never been much of a proponent of Bitcoin itself, is rumored to have changed his mind and his stance. And I can identify with that. In the last year, I've changed my stance on Bitcoin. I really wasn't a big Bitcoin person. I'm still not a crypto meme coin type of person. I just see Bitcoin itself is very positive and sort of digital energy, digital money. So that's my stance. I wouldn't say I'm a gold bug. I certainly used to be a gold bug years ago. Now I'm just a commodities investor. So I like gold for certain things. I like silver. I like agriculture. When those cycles present themselves, it's a boom and bust cycle in commodities, clearly. So anyway, we lost a lot here, and now we wrote these out. But with all this FOMO and this Bitcoin conference, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Let me see if there's any more movement. We're still at 67.3. We've confirmed that we're on that upper shelf. This thing could move up to 72, 73. Again, could it be buy the rumor, sell the news? Sure, right? But that news doesn't come out to the end of the week. Earliest Thursday. So the specific rumor is that Donald Trump is supposedly going to announce that he's considering hard assets for strategic reserves. Well, what is a strategic reserve? Well, it would, in this case, it would be under their fiscal. So they would back up treasuries with hard assets, gold, Bitcoin, maybe a commodity or two. And the strategic reserve, think about SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve. What is it? Well, it's where we stockpile a lot of oil. Why would we do that? Well, what if we get in a conflict? What if we need troops and we have a skirmish and some of the Navy's big vehicles now are nuclear powered, submarines but it requires a lot of oil, a lot of fuel to move troops and people and airplanes and all kinds of things. And just in the general public, especially when we were a net exporter under the past administration, we've become an importer again. And really, with all the ESG aggressive movements, we've cut down and disincentivized to go green. Well, green is fine in the areas that it works in. I'm a big proponent of solar and wind, and some of they have their place, but you're not going to take a society that's dependent on these massive energy things, nuclear, gas, oil, and just shut everything off. It doesn't work that way. Society will have a hard time. And one thing people won't stand for is a blackout, right? I mean, they'll freeze to death, or they'll, die from heat exhaustion and other kinds of things. So climate, a lot of things come into play both ways, right? Where you're trying to be carbon neutral, or reduce the carbon footprint. But on the other hand, weather can create a situation. So all I'm saying there is this strategic reserve fiscally makes a lot of sense. You do not want the world to not think highly of the US dollar. And some of these confiscations and things that have happened where people are fearful in other countries, who's going to buy the treasury? Mostly today, when we print money, it's our banks buying those treasuries. So you don't want to set them up where high interest rates, and they have to pay interest rates to savers, but they're buying treasuries, and with new accounting rules they can't, you know they have to mark to market, instead of going out and saying I bought a 30-year treasury and I can show what the value is at the full coupon 30 years out. Instead, they have to mark what it is now, and that's putting stress on these banks, and you don't want to have a series of bank failures and so forth. So there's a lot at stake. So who knows? I mean, maybe Trump doesn't win the election. There's certainly a lot of momentum in that direction until the Democrats figure out maybe who their candidate is. It's looking less and less that it's not going to be Biden. So you have a lot of socioeconomic, political, which I don't talk my opinions about that. I don't think it's fair. Who cares what my opinion is? But you should care about the impact on our country and fiscally and everything else, regardless of party affiliation. So that's what I'm trying to talk to you about here. So I see Bitcoin surging. Why am I giving you this long dissertation? Because this rambling, this rant, it has to do with, it's very likely that whether we get to sell the news at the end of the week or not, that something is transpiring here. There's some of the very large and wealthy and biggest proponents of Bitcoin, Michael Saylor and so forth, and a lot of people speaking at this conference. It's a big deal. Um, and remember, politicians want votes. So if there's a sector and they want to talk positively about an asset base that they think would help them politically, they're going to seize that opportunity. And there may be belief that we really do need a lot more hard assets backing the currencies. So anyway, I'm done with that rant, but I think it's important, guys. And you could see the top blow off here. You could see 73, 74 go back to all-time highs. It's hard to predict, right? But if we do that, we're going to run right by and get capped again. We've got a 24 and a 24 and a half. What do they look like on the weekly? There were no trades, right? Nothing happened here, no shares bought. But Bitto has certainly moved up. We moved up a portion of that, right? We moved up 2.93, it moved up 5.94, because it sees that we can't, even though we're not capped yet, we've got 5 trading days to go, right? When we wrote those, we were 7.2 and 503. Now we're only less than 2%, right? And these are, call it 50-50. It's not. It's probably 58-42, without doing the math. So you're only 4% away from the other. Do I think we could blow by that? Yeah, it's possible. Let's see if maybe at the end of the week we get sell the news and we come back within the range. It's hard to tell. So we went from having captured a good significant share to where we're 70% out of the money now, right? So these are back up to 66 and 49. So it's going to cost us 1.4 to buy what we sold 824. Now, granted, as long as we come in below these numbers, that's what matters. I'm just telling you, it's not looking good at the moment. But let's see. So we closed at 1620 on a 1617 fair value. Um, this is what we are improving as we move up. Okay, as BITO moves up, one of the problems is, remember what I was telling you? We got plenty of money in the bank to pay us because they're writing these calls. They didn't write any on Friday, but when they're writing these calls up at the 35 on our synthetic, then you can expect great things on that. We have plenty of money that's captured, but look at where we are. Okay, we're still a long ways away. Whoops, I didn't update this because I didn't even think I was going to show it. But you get the idea. We're 2354 on something that's 35, right? We're 33% out. Now, every time we put a position on, but there's a paper liability. But they'll roll that, but they're not going to pay. I think we get $1. I don't want us to be capped. Okay. I don't want a massive and continue taking this guy in a positive, right? We got cash, we got $1.73. But if we come in here and get blown out again, we can drag that back to $1. And we don't have any cash here. We can't roll the synthetic, but well, we can, and we probably will toward the end of this period. I think it's an 8-2 expiration. So we pretty much have to. Yeah, it is an 8-2. Um, so that's kind of the situation. I'm still optimistic, but our NAV's not going to recover until these guys figure out with the FOMO. And guys, not only this may not be a buy the rumor, sell the news, it may be buy the rumor and as this thing continues. I mean, you don't know what Trump's going to say. He can say, hey, I'm going to do some initially as a test in strategic reserve for the treasuries, but long term, we're trying to figure out the basket of commodities to back the dollar. He's smart. He wants to send a signal to the world it's a strong currency. And right now, the Chinese aren't buying our treasuries, and most everybody else in the world not buying our treasuries. So our bank is taking them all on. And we've got to constantly print more money because of the debt levels that we have, and there's systemic risk still in our banks. So based on those accounting changes and trying to shore them up, so we shall see. I see ultimately a lot of gains in gold and the precious metals miners, and the same thing in Bitcoin. Whether it's this week, next week, a month out, it's generally in commodities going to be a very positive climate. Okay, guys, that's what I got for you. Again, a long discussion, but I think it's relevant. So when I do Misty and Coney, I'm just going to refer you to YBIT and not do the rants there. I need to get through those. Okay, so not fiscal advice. I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. Have a great weekend, peoples. Bye.